I could muck around with that all day. It's such a great sound. What am I doing there? That is actually a concept I picked up listening to Django Reinhardt. Minor swing. I think it's a song every guitar player should learn. Okay, check it out, Django Reinhardt minor swing. There's just so much cool stuff happening in that song. The minor 6 chord. Okay, so you hear a lot of rockabilly guys use this, especially that kind of really mysterious. I don't know. It's got like a bit of an evil sound, but it's quite jazzy. It's like maybe someone's up to something, but in a cool way, like a spy maybe. I don't know. Really cool sound. And this was one of the scales I wanted to include in the Essential Django Reinhardt Scales video that I made. So check out that video. But I kind of left it off, and I thought I'm going to make a short but individual video about this particular scale. So what is a minor 6 chord, scale, arpeggio, whatever you want to call it? So it is where we let's take the minor 7 arpeggio, for example. We're going to play an A minor. Okay. And we're going to play the root note here. This is the flat third, because in the key of A, we would have a C sharp, so that would be a C sharp normally. We've got the minor third there. Then we get the 5th. Okay, remember we always refer to the major scale when we give the numbers, a regular number. So if I say the 3rd, I'm actually saying the major 3rd, but I'm saying we're not using that. We're using the minor 3rd, the 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, regular 5. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 6. Okay. So in a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right there. Okay. This is a confusing one, guys, because we're calling it a minor 6, which might make you think that we would go, if this is the 6, wouldn't we use a minor 6? Wouldn't it be an F instead of an F sharp in this scenario here? No. It's a little bit of an exception to a lot of strange rules. But with this one, we keep the 6th degree from the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we pretty much use everything else from the minor scale. So for the savvy out there, you might think of this as almost like a Dorian concept, okay? But there's not too much need to worry about that. What we're going to do is we're just going to isolate the A minor chord, and it means we've got room to play around with the 6th degree because there's no 6 in an A minor chord specifically. And if we do play it specifically, we can kind of choose whether we want to use that. Doesn't really sound good with the flat 6. It's kind of, long story. I don't want to get too far off the track. So to play this arpeggio, you play the 5th fret, you play the A here, you play the C, play the E, play the F sharp, okay? That's such a great sound. Then we play the A here, the C here, E here, F sharp here, A here, okay? Oh. Okay, so practice it up and back, obviously. Now I'm going to tell you how to use it. So we can use it over any A minor chord, no problems. So there we go. You can hear it over an A minor chord. Let me just play it over the ringing A string. So it's almost something we can force. Okay, there's an A minor chord. Bang, I want that A minor 6 chord. I'm going to play it. Even if that note that makes it the minor 6 is out of key at that moment, doesn't matter. On that chord, we can kind of play around. And that's something that we do that's something you can do as a jazz musician or a rockabilly musician, even a blues musician. You can take the chord and you muck around on that chord and use some different things. So that might help free up some other things for you as well. Now, that's the one obvious way to use it. And mix it up with your minor scale and have a muck around. You don't have to just play that arpeggio straight up and down. In fact, it's kind of feels really hard for me to do that. It's very rigid. Now, that's the simplest way, okay? But we can also use it over other chords. a great way to use the minor 6 chord, and something that you see so many jazz players do. Wes Montgomery comes to mind as well, actually. And then if you're a rockabilly player, trust me, you want to borrow ideas from these guys because they're all great ideas. If I'm in the key of G, okay, and I play, I'm thinking of, playing a D7. I'm playing a D7 or a D9 back to a G, okay. Even in a blues, for example, on the 5 chord, back to the G. This A minor 7 arpeggio sounds fantastic over a D9, okay? Because it's a friendly sound against the D, where it's kind of a mysterious sound against the A, if that makes sense. So A, mysterious against the D. I'm going to play the same notes, but just back here so I can clear the D. Kind of a, I don't know, almost like a celebratory sound. It's quite a nice sound. So the theory behind this, or how you can reapply it in different keys, is if you're playing a dominant 7, okay, like let's say we're in D, or we're playing a D7, count up to the 5th. Now, you always use the major scale to get your numbers, but if you don't nail it, it doesn't really matter because the 5 kind of always looks the same. It's always, think of it like 2 frets up and 1 across. There's your 5, it's an A. Or simply play directly across. So if I'm on the 5th fret, stay on the 5th fret, but go back a string. That's our 5th degree. So the 5th degree of D is an A. And if I play a minor 6 arpeggio from that 5th degree, okay, or from the A in this case, it's going to give us a really wonderful sound. And we call this superimposing, okay? So what we're actually doing is we're taking the arpeggio of another chord and we're smashing it on top, maybe smashing it, that might be a bit dramatic, but we're placing it on top of a different chord, but we're getting a delightful result. And that delightful result in this case is that we're getting, the 5th degree of D, the 5th degree of D being an A. We're getting the flat 7 of a D, okay, because in the normal key of D we have a C sharps, but we're getting a C natural, which really works for a D7 because guess what? A D7 or D dominant 7 actually uses a regular C, which is a flat 7. Every 7 chord does that. It actually uses a flat 7. And we actually then get the E, which against a D we would call the 2nd degree, obviously. D, 2nd degree is the E, but we like to call it the 9 because we often place it higher up the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. E there, think of it as a 9, okay? So we get the 5 of D, we get the flat 7 of D, we get the 2 or the 9, and we get the major 3rd. So we get this really interesting scale that actually skips the root note of the chord. In this case being a D7, we skip D, but we get a lot of really tasty tones against D, okay? The 9, okay? The 3rd is going to work. The flat 7's perfect, obviously, being a dominant 7. And the 9, that's the really important one. Django Reinhardt, Wes Montgomery. Oh, hang on. I used the same concept, just moved it around differently. Without the octaves, of course, just playing it in a jazzy style, really common. And Django Reinhardt used that a heck of a lot as well, okay? Now, there's one other way to use it. This is something I just kind of came up with mucking around before, but just another example of superimposing. There's heaps of different ways to do that. Another great example is, and I want you to think of it this way. Anytime we have a major chord or a minor chord, borrowing ideas from the related major or minor, okay, is always cool. Always going to work and always going to sound good most of the time. Of course, there's context to it, but just give it a go. The example here is, if I play an A minor, if I play a C major, or a C major 7, okay, and I use that minor 6, A minor 6, I'm going to get a really interesting sound, but it's going to work. Because if it works over C, it's going to work over A minor most of the time. Because A minor is the related minor of C, and C major is the relation of A minor. So any example of a related major and minor, so let's say we have E minor and G major. I know that if I play an E minor idea over G, it's going to sound good. And if I play a G major idea over E minor, it's going to sound good. So that's a really great tip for getting more out of your basic ideas even. So if I play an E minor arpeggio over a G, sounds nice. But if I use a G major 7, for example, over E minor, great sound. So go back, have a think about what I've just said. I got off the track slightly, but it's, yeah, you can obviously use that -6 arpeggio over the related major. So A minor, the related major is C. Try it, you're going to get some interesting results. It's not going to necessarily be straight major key stuff. We're getting a little outside, but that's the beauty of it. What do you think, guys? Did you enjoy this? Do you have any questions? What would you like to see next? The next lesson will cover chords, so I'll teach you a little bit more about playing that particular chord and a couple other chords that Django Reinhardt might use. Again, just drawn from looking at a couple of the tunes that I've learnt of his over the years and from a little bit of listening. A little bit of a feel as well from you know, getting a general idea of what he does. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.